My daughter-in-law said, "I love this house, it's ours now. Send your dad to live with his sister." My son nodded and I just smiled. The next day, I took back the house I'd given them. My name is Elias Carter. I am 58 years old, born and raised in a working-class neighborhood, and for the last 30 years I have worked as a building supervisor for a private management company. I may look calm and gentle, but life has sharpened me more than people realize. I am a widower of 7 years, father to 1 son and grandfather to 2 little angels. Everything I did in life, every extra shift I worked and every brick I lifted, was to make sure my son Marcus walked into a life better than the one I had. Maybe that was my greatest strength and my biggest mistake at the same time. After my wife passed away, I poured myself into my work, into my family, into becoming both mother and father for the boy I loved more than my own breath. When Marcus got married to Alana, a beautiful sharp young woman with a quick smile and even quicker ambitions, I welcomed her with my whole heart. I even gave them my house as a wedding gift, a fully paid-off home that took me 22 years to build and renovate piece by piece. I moved into a small apartment closer to my job, telling myself it was okay. This was what fathers do. They give, they sacrifice, they create comfort for their children. For the first few years everything was peaceful. We had Sunday dinners, we had family movie nights. I fixed whatever broke in that house, from leaky pipes to broken cabinets, always with a smile, always proud to see my son and his family live well. But slowly I began to notice a shift. My daughter-in-law stopped calling me Dad and started calling me Elias. My son got busier and busier, and my presence became something they tolerated rather than enjoyed. Still I ignored everything, because love makes you blind in the most painful way. One afternoon, after finishing overtime at work, I went to visit them, tired but excited to see my grandchildren. When I reached the door I heard hushed voices inside. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but sometimes the truth throws itself into your ears without permission. I heard my daughter-in-law say, "I love this house, it's ours now. Send your dad to live with his sister. He is always around. I want space." I stood there frozen, my chest pinched, my breathing stuck, and then I heard the part that truly broke me. My own son, the boy I carried on my shoulders, nodded and said, "Yeah, maybe it's time. He gave us everything, he'll understand." I stepped back silently, their words cutting deeper than any wound I had experienced. I didn't knock, I didn't walk in. Instead I turned around and walked down the steps slowly, feeling like the earth under me no longer belonged to me. I went home, sat on my old chair, stared at the wall and wondered when love turned into inconvenience. I must have sat there for hours because my phone buzzed. It was my oldest friend, Jerome. He has known me since we were boys running around barefoot, and he could sense from my silence that something was wrong. I told him everything, my voice shaking only once. He listened quietly, then said, "Eli, people forget generosity, but they never forget boundaries, and brother, it's time you remind them what belongs to whom." That night I barely slept, but instead of crying, something inside me shifted. I remembered every bill I paid, every paper I signed, every foundation of that house built with my sweat. I remembered the will I never changed, the documents I still owned, the trust fund I created but never transferred. I realized that I had given them a home out of love, but the house legally, financially and morally was still mine. I had just allowed them to live there. The next morning, I wore my clean white shirt, black office pants and polished shoes, and I smiled, because the storm inside me had finally turned into clarity. I went to the county office with Jerome and pulled out the old title deeds and property tax records. Everything still listed me as the sole owner since I had never finished the transfer paperwork officially. I had simply handed them the keys, not the ownership, something even I had forgotten. I updated the records, reinstated my ownership rights, and made a quiet legal notice with the help of an attorney, a young brilliant woman who listened to my story and said, "Elias, kindness should never be repaid with eviction. It's time you protect what's yours." 2 days later, I went to the house. I walked in with calm steps. They were sitting in the living room. My grandchildren ran to me happily and hugged me, their innocence wrapping around my wounded heart. My daughter-in-law looked annoyed as if she wanted to ask why I didn't knock. but I raised my hand gently. I said, "Don't worry, this will only take a minute." My son shifted in his seat, already sensing something was different. I sat across from them and said with a smile, "You know, I've been thinking a lot lately. You said you love this house, that it's yours, and that maybe I should live with my sister." I paused, letting their faces reveal everything. My son lowered his eyes. My daughter-in-law looked defensive, but I continued gently, "Well, I've made a decision. Since you feel crowded, since my presence is too much, since this house brings you so much joy, I think it's best that we clear up the misunderstanding. The house isn't yours, not legally, not officially, not in any form. I took back the house I had given them. Every room, every tile, every brick is mine again." I placed the legal notice on the table. They both froze. My daughter-in-law's face lost all its confidence. My son whispered, "Dad, what is this?" I remained calm. "This is me taking responsibility for loving you too blindly and forgetting to love myself. You don't have to worry. I won't throw you out instantly. You have 30 days to find a new place." Then I stood up, hugged my grandchildren, kissed their cheeks, and told them I would always be there for them. My daughter-in-law burst into tears, accusing me of betrayal. My son begged me to reconsider, but I was tired of being the only one who cared. I said softly, "You both made your decision before I made mine, and sometimes life returns the same energy you give. Be grateful I am doing this with fairness, because the pain you caused deserves a far worse reaction." I moved back into the house after they left, not out of spite but out of reclaiming a life I sacrificed too easily. Jerome helped me repaint the walls. My coworkers came on weekends to help me fix things. Even my sister came to stay with me for a week to keep me company. Slowly the house felt like mine again, filled with laughter from friends instead of tension from ungrateful people. Months later, my son came to visit alone. No pride, no anger, just regret. He apologized with shaking hands, telling me he realized how wrong he had been. I listened quietly. I told him I forgave him because forgiveness sets the forgiver free, but forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. I told him he would have to rebuild trust slowly, like a broken chair repaired nail by nail. As for my daughter-in-law, she never came back. She still blames me for everything, but I don't lose sleep over people who can't see their own reflection in truth. Life has a way of returning balance, of giving justice even when we stop expecting it, and sometimes the deepest revenge is not anger or cruelty, but taking back the power you gave away freely. In the end, I learned something valuable. Giving is beautiful, but giving yourself away is foolish. Love should never cost you your dignity, and family should never make you feel homeless in a home you built with your bare hands. Now I live peacefully, drinking coffee on the porch I built, watching the sunrise through the same window where I once watched my son take his first steps, and I whisper to myself every morning, never again will I shrink to make others comfortable, never again will I forget my worth, and never again will I apologize for taking back what is mine. Because sometimes, the fairest revenge is simply reclaiming your life. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell me, what would you have done if you were in my place?